Alrighty. So I know there's like a little delay. So I bet you we're probably about live right about now. So, hey everybody, this is the first live that I'm doing and that I've done so far. We normally do this on Adam's channel on Tuesday for Tuesday Tent Talk, but this I changed it to the Party Room platform or the Party Room podcast. The name is pretty fluent right now. I'm still up for advice if anybody's got some ideas that they want to do. Steve, I got Steve here today. Steve, is there anyone introduce yourself for a little bit for everybody? Tell them who you are.
I'm Steve. He's got me here today. I'm kidding. I'm Steven from Action Rides. Used to own a rental company for over 33 years and got into manufacturing. So I also had a tent rental company with partners that I eventually bought out and a lot of other things. So I have a lot of diversity, but all in one trade, the entertainment business, mostly the party rentals and event rentals.
Yeah, actually, same here. I basically grew up in the entertainment business and just have a bunch of knowledge of the entertainment business, whether it be tents or bounce houses or hard rides or stuff like that. Even like stuffed animals and like the arts and crafts. I know things like that as well. I just actually did an interview today with the guy for yard signs. That's a pretty big thing this year. So that'll be released tomorrow at noon. But yeah, man, I figured I'd ask you a couple questions here today. Waiting for everybody to start asking their own questions, and we can start answering those as well. Yeah, I can see who's online. I can see all the comments that they're leaving and stuff like that. But we'll just get right into like the main question here. What do you see? What do you think's going to be happening this year? What is your guess and what will happen in 2021?
My guess?
Yeah, what is your guess?
Well, backyard parties are going to be strong like they were this year because people are going to do something. They can't go to Disney. They're going to spend some money elsewhere. And by the way, that's the last 33 years were like that. There were times when people couldn't travel. They still had backyard parties. If anything, they spent more on their parties because they weren't spending it on Disney and places like that. So I believe they're going to do well. As far as
I think there's. Oh, you go ahead.
No, that's right. Go ahead.
So I was saying you were talking in the one thing that literally there's a lot of people that couldn't buy pools because they couldn't supply them enough. There was a lot of manufacturing problems and shipping problems. So once all the pools got bought up in the stores, there was no pools. So everybody was renting slides with pools or water slides with pools. So that was a big factor, and that could happen again next year, and it also couldn't. You know what I mean? A lot of the time, like supply and demand is really weird right now, and I'm guessing there's going to be more demand for water units regardless, even with the amount, because the exposure was there. So everybody knows what a water slide is for the most part now. They're going to want them, and if people start, if they give out more stimulus, and you know what I mean, don't want to get political or anything, but if they start giving out more money, whoever, they're gonna. Last year they were just doling out. Like the 1 week they missed a bunch of payments for for the unemployment, and I had like 5 cancellations. So just because they, you know what I mean, because they missed unemployment. So that I saw a correlation there for 100%. So I thought that was pretty interesting. What do you think about corporate events? I don't think there's going to be any corporate events again. I don't unless it's in the fall maybe.
I've been looking online, and people are commenting that they're starting to get booked up now for 2021. However, how many of those will actually happen? You know, companies have to probably sometimes plan in advance, but that doesn't mean that they won't cancel last minute either. So it's hard to say. You know, a lot of these companies, it depends where you are also. New York City, they're not coming back to the buildings. So are they going to still go up to the Catskills and have a picnic for 400 people? Probably not, because the people are going to be scattered wherever they live or wherever they've moved. I know people that have moved so far away from where they used to commute to work because they don't have to commute anymore. So things will be changing in the corporate world, but there's also summer camps, sleepover camps. It's a lot of money in those camps too.
Yeah, there's For sure. There's a lot of actual innovation within corporate and business too. So a lot of people are actually like right here, we don't have to go fly halfway around the world to talk to each other. We can be anywhere and have this conversation, deep business conversations with that still face-to-face value. With real
Corporations,
time.
they like
Yes,
it
no,
a lot.
yep.
They don't have to
There's,
pay for buildings. They don't have to pay for heat. They don't have to pay for,
you can have,
computer fees.
you can have less people in there. You can get more things across faster. You can do an interview and be right into the next one and have somebody waiting at their home that doesn't have to spend a half hour commuting. So it's just for time efficiency. I love these streams. It provides good content for all the viewers and stuff like that.
Keep in mind though, company events are not necessarily about company picnics just for the staff. Company events are sometimes open to the public for goodwill. We used to do tons of Home Depot events where they would rent 4 or 5 things, including inflatables sometimes. And when we did them, we did all of New Jersey. It wasn't one store. Every store kind of duplicated the same thing through their, not through the store, but through their corporate management. So those things could come back. And also we do have 2 vaccines out there right now. So people, even if they don't feel confident, they're going to use those vaccines to get things going again.
Yeah, that's true too. People might like the people that are taking them are going to be more happy to go out because they realize that they're safer and whatnot. So that could bring a whole big factor to it too. I think that where was my train of thought? There's a lot of marketing for companies. So if you have inflatables for sales, like these sales inflatables, the I2K cells and stuff like that. Do you guys make those too?
We do. Cold air balloons. Yeah, we've been making them a long time.
Yeah, like if you can do those sales balloons, those cold air balloons, and put those are going to do well, like stuff like that, because people are going to want to advertise their business, especially if things are getting shut down or even when they're just opening up again. So, what do you think about that?
Cold air balloons are good. I mean, they don't go out as often, but we had a stock of them, and we make them we make them, but we don't sell a million of them. But as far as things like that go, corporate, you can also sell them. Even if you're a rental guy, you can get into the marketing of selling them to these companies in your area that don't want to look elsewhere.
Car dealerships.
And I'll tell you something. We used to do for Dunkin' Donuts and quite a few others where they would purchase through us or they'd even purchase through themselves. We would keep the unit. We would charge them a monthly fee to keep it clean. Not that we had to clean it every month. And we would store it for them, set it up for them. So there was a lot of money to be made in just kind of storing the things that they didn't want to deal with. We had a motorhome company here who bought a 50-foot inflatable flag, 50-foot wide inflatable flag. And we used to go pick it up. We'd set it up. We kept it here, charge them $200 a month for basically storage. And, and then we got charged, we charge them more for setting it up. So there's a lot of ways to make money out there. But that's a whole nother racket. It's not that we can't do it, but you have to set yourself up. You have to contact these people. These are not people you wait to call you from your internet site.
Yep. You also got to be reputable and have experience. You got to sound like you know what you're doing. You got to have a plan. No, it's not really hard. It could be hard. But what do you think the number one marketing method would be in 2021 besides word of mouth? We got that from Evan Landgraf. In my opinion, you should do text marketing. I think trying to text people and having people having a text funnel or at least replying to people through text is a very smart move. So some of the stuff people do in their follow-up emails, I'd be doing through text, especially if they're trying to convert better. Because you know what I mean? Hey, do you want a bounce house? You know what I mean? Because you just found out there was another party, so you put it through your email system, or you know what I mean? However you're doing your follow-ups, you don't want to do it through an email. Nobody reads their emails anymore, but everybody reads a text. There's a syndrome where you actually think that your phone's going off in your pocket. So
some of these predictions are, first of all, there's so many different ways to market, and one of the comments, like about the text emailing, I get a few from people. I hate them and I love them. I hate them because they're annoying to me and I don't want to read them just because somebody texted me at that point and maybe I'm busy. And if I'm busy, I don't get back to it because the text scrolls down. But I love it in the sense that I can immediately reach customers. So I've been thinking about it a long time. I know other companies have done it, and I believe they're successful at it. Look, keeping your name in front of the customer makes you successful. So if you can't knock on their door and hand them a brochure every day or a business card or a postcard, something they can keep, that text messages do that. So I do agree with you that that's an excellent way. I don't want to spend the money that they're offering right now because I'm sure there's probably lesser expensive ways coming.
You can do it just off your phone. I didn't spend a dime this year. I just answered people off Facebook and just did it all on my phone, and then put all of it into my Google Calendar. So I just got the date, the time of the party, and I got what stuff's going there. I got their phone number and their address. And that's pretty much all I really needed for the most part. And then the setup, setup time.
That my whole thought is, like other companies do, you send them a text message. Hey, we're having a special this week, or hire something for June and get 20% off. And you send those out weekly. It's pretty good. Even weekly seems like a lot to me when I get them, but maybe that's just me.
I was just mentioning that because I think he's starting off because he said his word of mouth. Because you don't want to do that, but it's pretty much free. You can do text marketing free as well. Mm-hmm. But I personally am trying to get my website up and running, and then I'm going to do text marketing the right way. And that's the number one goal is definitely get my website up and running. We got another question here. Oh, he said he got into the tail end of the full talk. Inflatable carnival, corny carny. Yeah, he's cold. I'm actually thinking about it. There's a lot of dealerships by me in Buffalo. You've been to this area up here. I think it would do well over here. Just that, I don't know. I think I can sell a lot of things anyways. I could convince some people to use it.
Well, I could tell you this. When we got into the cold air, the dancing balloons, they were originally a guy out of California who made them over here, and they weren't that cheap back then. And then, of course, they were easy to make different versions of them, just like this industry always does. The cold air balloons, we marketed them to furniture stores. We sent postcards to furniture stores. We sent it to auto dealers. And all of a sudden, we would get 3 for $600 for one day. We'd make it $900 for 2 days, because once we set up, I don't care if they get dirty. They just wave back and forth, those dancing guys. And we did very well with them. But again, if you're just waiting for someone to call, and I'm not against the internet, don't get me wrong, that's the best place. Google ads, Facebook ads, these things really work for people because that's where people are. You got to go where the people are. However, this target audience, these guys in our local furniture stores, which they're all over the place, and every Columbus Day is a sale, not so much now because of different things, but every holiday is a sale for furniture stores and car dealers, that if you can reach them by sending them a flyer once a month, and if they have a $600 budget, they're going to spend it because that's nothing to them. Or you could barter. You never know. Make a deal. Get a free
maybe get a car out of it. Yeah, I like that idea. See, I'm thinking about trying to get a giant buffalo and then across the side of it, put a banner on it. So my competition watches me. I bet you they do. They might take all my ideas. I don't really care because I'm going to do it too. I'll just buy a bigger buffalo. So you know how it is. What do we got? Inflatable carnival. You gotta schmooze them. You gotta go in there in person. He's saying, not over the phone. Big deals like that. As soon as I find out they're big fish, I say, "Hey, let me come in person." Well,
that's all right. We used to send postcards to the managers, and nothing wrong with calling. Nothing. If you go in there, you usually have a better rapport. Of course, anybody who used to come into my place of business, the first thing I would do when they'd walk into my office is kind of feel like, ugh, I don't want to be bothered. The second thing I do is try to be as nice as possible to listen to what they. Not that I didn't want to be bothered, but I'm busy. I'm focused on something. So when they come in, But the second thing that happened was I listened to what they said, so they got their message across. And the third thing that would happen if they'd come back a second or third time and they were not rude or disrespectful because they're barging in on me is kind of how I feel. And I don't want to be that way, but that's how I feel sometimes, is that you build a rapport after that. You know, one time you drop something off, it's helpful. You might catch the right guy, you're right, but you want to build a rapport with people. So that takes time. I have people that sometimes tell me, you know, they always say in the, if you do conventions, by the way, a convention could be a Sweet 16 convention at your local Holiday Inn. A convention could be for the bar mitzvah market. It doesn't have to be for IAPA. You guys can go to local conventions, even a comic book. I don't know if that would work for us, but you never know where you could pick up somebody who'll rent bounces. But
you don't have to, if you got the tables and chairs, if you've got the convention, if you could find out who's running the convention, you could be doing Piper Drape and renting all the tables and chairs as well.
Yeah, as long as it's not supplied by the hotel. But you're right, and it's a good market. I mean, there's so many ways to make money in this industry. You know, you just have to be willing to put a little effort in. Again, I love internet marketing, but I always post articles about, you know, not waiting for them to call you because they're calling you and 50 of your competitors. I'd rather try to get them to just remember me. So I reach out, and I think it's great to do what Corny Carney was saying, to go in. I agree.
Yeah, I come off better in person. That's why I like doing these live videos. It's fun. It's just I can be natural and just talk. It's not just over the phone through text. I feel like I'm a robot. Any advice for someone just looking to start out? Yeah, watch the channel, like and subscribe. No, but seriously though, I would say do your due diligence and look into your information. Find out everything. First of all, you're becoming a business. You're not just getting into the bounce house business, you're becoming a business owner. So look into all the insurance and look into the insurance aspects of owning a bounce house. Look into your local state registration and licensing and what it's going to cost you to operate these bounce houses. And then you want to make sure you have enough money to buy like 3 or 4 of them. I'd get like 2 bounce house water slides and then a giant water slide. And then before you'd even do all that, I would even recommend you might just go to like a county over, or if you got a friend that's in the business and you're in a huge area or something like that, a little bit of experience in touching this stuff and working with it. Just even one day is just going to give you worlds of advice. And if you can go to a couple of those companies, you'll actually start saying, hey, listen, if I did all these things together, it's going to, this would work out great. So,
you know, I ended up starting, I was a performer and I ended up starting with 3 bounces, you know, for $1,500. They were almost brand new. They were $4,500 new, but I could tell you this after all these years, I've watched a lot of companies start up with $100,000, and I've seen a lot of companies start up with $7,000 and $5,000. You know, so you could start either way, but keep in mind, if you buy 3 units and your area, you believe you can only get $200 a unit, you're making $600 a weekend. Is that enough to quit your day job? And do you want to quit your day job, or are you just thinking it's going to be a fun thing on the weekends? Because it's a business and you treat it like a business as opposed to a fun thing, even though you love it and even though it's extra money. So you have to decide how you want to build your business and what you're expecting out of it. And then you have to look at your competitors in the area. You don't have to worry about your competitors. Of course, you really do, but that's not your focus. Your focus is you're not running against them. You're building your own market. That's your focus. But when you look at your competitors' websites, you can get probably a good feel for what's selling and not selling. I'm not saying, you know, I'm not saying look at their calendar, but I'm saying you probably get a good idea for what maybe the area would need or would rent right away, or what would be the most popular pieces. But there's nothing wrong with creating your own destiny, buying the pieces that you like. But the best advice I could say is, if you're going to be a small company for the first couple of years, don't buy specifically branded items. Don't buy a Mickey Mouse bounce. I love Mickey Mouse. Nothing against Ninja Jumper or Magic Jump.
Magic owns it now.
Whoever has a license, you know, if there's only one license available. But that's a whole nother story. So my point is, stay away from things that are going to limit your work. Remember, I would say this even in the amusement ride business. My bumper cars can hold children to adults. So that's going to go out a lot more. Same thing with certain items. Remember, if you get an item that only a 12-year-old can go on or up, it's not going to go out as much because the little kids can't use it. So there goes the elementary school market. Try to keep in mind you want a variety. And if you stick with generics, a red, blue, and yellow Castle, it can go to a boys' party, you can go to a girls' party. You're not going to limit yourself. So be careful about buying the new SpongeBob bounce if you're a smaller company. That's my best advice.
Yeah, I personally have a Disney Princess and Frog bounce house. But I live in Buffalo, New York, and that's my princess one, and I think that was a smart move. But I wouldn't get anything else other than that. As far as this theme's regular bounce house, I wouldn't even do it.
Well,
I like the durability of that one too, but I probably, you know what I mean? And I got it cheap and used, so I already made my money back.
When the Disney Princess bounces came out, the first thing I did at the trade show, and probably everybody else did, said that's a home run. It's a home run. And I bought 2 of them, and I had 300 and something bounces. I didn't get 2 out every weekend because even though Disney was beautiful, not everybody was having a Disney themed party. And I loved it. I mean, they were great pieces. Don't get me wrong. However, I bought some sports club bounces. Back then were made by Ninja Jump, and they were gorgeous also. And they went out every weekend because girls play sports, boys play sports. So even though I thought it would be limited, that was a much more popular piece. Most of the time the kids might be deciding, but it's the parents who make the ultimate decision. And it's usually moms. In my case, I find it to be mostly the moms.
Yeah, as far as that goes, for sure. Sports is a very good one to get into when you start off. It's a very good gender neutral piece that goes for both. It's not a bad one at all. I had a question here here we go. Does Steven think being a performer makes him a better salesman? You answer first because I already know if I answer this question.
I'll say this. I have people that love me, and they know me forever, and they know what I say is how I really feel. I don't color code it. I don't want to be rude or disrespectful, but I speak quickly, maybe because I have so much on my mind all the time. And I also know other people that think I'm full of crap for the same reason. And they tell me, or they tell other people, or I hear that Steven said this. I'm like, who, when, what, huh? So you're going to get that. However, the answer overall is going to be yes. I'm going to say yes because as a performer, I was 8 years old singing in the Catskills. So I started on stage very young, and then I learned how to, learned about direction and how to, as an actor, the same thing. I did a lot of theater before I did movies and whatever. And so, you learn stage left, you learn when to look forward, So yes, being a good performer makes you an excellent salesman, makes you an excellent speaker. It gets rid of your fear of speaking in front of a crowd and also speaking your mind.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into for the most part.
I think Tony knows that because he's a good speaker too.
I know, yeah, he's good at it too. You really have to, if you do sales or stuff like that, for the most part, you have to be fearless. You can't hesitate. You got to go right into it. You can't, if you stumble, you got to keep going. Just like this live stream, I might mess up a word or something like that. Buffalo's got a wild accent. My A's are wild. So
you know what also makes you an excellent, better salesman is knowing your product.
Yeah.
When you set up, look, I'm in this business a real long time. Yes, I'm an old man, but the point of the matter is I was hands in like all of you. I got dirty. Every weekend I went out. Even after 33 years, I was on a truck somewhere. Sometimes because I wanted to, because it was a bigger event. Sometimes because I had no choice. And when it was time to roll up the bounces, I rolled up the slide with all the other guys rolling it up for 2 reasons. Number one, because I want to go home too. And number 2, because I'm part of the team and I didn't see myself as any different. And it didn't bother me. There was no snootiness about it, but I can tell you after all those years, when you know your product, you're going to do much better. And that's it, because you could sell it better.
Yeah, I agree with you for 100%. When you get nerdy, Inflatables and more say great advice. When you get nerdy into your stuff, I feel like people resonate with that. Like I'm teaching all of you guys this stuff. When I teach my customers why I do the things I'm doing, or when they want to do something, and it's like, listen, that's not safe. And then you explain it why, they love it. They love it.
I sold the used roller coaster about a week ago for a lot of money. and not mine, but he sold it for, an amusement park, right?
Yep.
So the guy bought it. He said it's a done deal. We shake hands. That's it. I'm sending you a check. Then he calls me up and he goes, why should I buy yours? I found another one for the same price and it's closer. And I said, because mine was New Jersey inspected, which means it went through the toughest inspectors in the USA. And you know that because if it passed New Jersey. And he goes, yeah, but what else? He goes, that one's a ground model. Stop texting me, whoever you are. Somebody's texting me, I love this, your nice shirt. But whatever the case is, it's funny. But the whole point is, even with this roller coaster, I knew the knowledge. Why should you buy from me? Because mine's been in Jersey. He goes, well, this one's portable, and he's using it at a park. I said, so the portable one means it's been on the road more, might have more damage, gets flexed around. This one's ground. So I wouldn't have been able to be such a great salesman if I didn't know the rides and what is the best reason to push. So let me find out who this person is. Oh,
we got another question. Do you find when you rent an inflatable to the customer is usually interested in a tent, table, chairs as well? If you can only rent either inflatables or tent, which would you do? So inflatables faster, in my opinion, than a tent, and you can get good money. But a tent you're always going to need the tent, tables, and chairs. So in my opinion, I have both. My company does both because I like the action for both. Because if I can add a tent and inflatable and the tables and chairs, then some concessions to it, and some games, then it's like, oh yeah, we're having a good day. So and that's at the same event, and it's pretty much just a little bit extra work, and it's not that much more knowledge to learn it all. So that's why I'm teaching it all. So if I had to say what's going to pay you more in the long run, like quicker, tents. But if you have multiple bounce houses, you know what I mean? And it depends on your area too. Because if you can get, you know what I mean, some tents, some markets are saturated in tents, but they only have a couple bounce house guys, and they end up killing the tent guys. But there's a whole bunch of variables there for me to just answer that completely and confidently. And that goes to a lot of things on my channel too. It's like it all depends on your area. You want to do your prices too. In my area, it's the tents, because there's some big tent jobs when things are normal all the time. They have giant festivals at like each little church, and there's one in each little town. Like there's a school in each little town. There's a church in each little town, all jam packed, and they all do a giant festival. Have multiple beer tent, gambling tent, food tent, and you know what I mean. Then they have all the picnic tables underneath it. They go, and some of the stuff they keep and they use, and then a lot of the stuff they rent. You can even rent the games and stuff that they use too for the gambling stuff. Like they sub a lot of that stuff out too. It just goes from fate to fate to fate.
I'd like to comment on it, say something about that, because I started off as a more of an inflatable rental, and as we were a booking agent, a licensed booking agent, which means I got bonded by the state to be an employment agent, But I can say this: for years I was doing tents, and I started subbing it out. I'd make 15% from the tent guy, and I had dinner with a couple of Party Fair stores, which are our local party stores, and I said, we're doing $65,000 in tents. I'm making 15% of it. But I'm having a problem with the tent guys. They were trash. But the whole point is we ended up opening a tent company together. Then I ended up buying them out about a year later because it wasn't for them. So customers, anything that they would rent, if you are looking to grow, and you should have it available for them. Tents rent for backyard parties because they want it in case it rains. And you go, well, what if it rains and not having a party? Then they want it in case it's too sunny. So there's plenty of reasons to rent tents. I was not a fan of the tent business, but it made a lot of money. And I would say if you're renting out 3 or 4 bounces or 10 or 20 bounces, and you have 5 or 6 tents that can go side by side, 20 by 20s, 30 by 30s. I hated 30 by 30s myself. My competitors would always say, why do you hate them? You're not putting them up. Oh, I was putting them up. That's why. And I had twin tubes. I bought the biggest, thickest stuff, which I wouldn't do again. I would buy the cheaper tents this time, and I'd replace the tops when they wore out instead of buying the thickest blackout tops. I wouldn't do that. So my answer is, if I could rent one or the other, my company would rent bounces because we'd made a fortune with it. However, one of my local competitors who works with me at IAPA every year, Carlos, you probably know him, loves the tents. He loves the rides too. But he loves the tents because they go up, they make him money. He could put them up any day of the week, which is what I like them. They went up on Wednesdays.
That's an interesting curveball here to this question too. If you were doing hard rides make more than a tent company. I'll tell you that more now. So if you go from a bounce house company to hard rides, game over.
But that's moving you into a different type of an event. I mean, birthday parties have hard rides. They have one or two or three.
That is a different event too. That's true.
But it sets you up for the town events and all that, and the schools and the corporations. However, to answer your question, I personally would rather rent the inflatables because I like them. But I know a lot of people. First of all, this is the year of the tents because of COVID. If you had tents, you're lucky. You made a fortune this year, probably into next year as well. You're probably even getting monthly rentals. Good for you. If I was to buy tents to go with my inflatables, I would not spend the money and buy the twin tube Eurekas that I love because they were too heavy and bulky. I'd still get a durable tent, but I would spend a lot less and just replace the tops every couple of years instead of thinking they're going to last for 10 years if I keep cleaning them. That's just me.
Yeah, I have D-pole too. They're 20 feet long for my 20 wides. I have a way of moving them, and I plan on growing fast, and I don't want to deal with it. But if it's gonna take you 5 years to expand to where I'm probably gonna try and do in like 2.5 or 2, don't don't buy this stuff because what I'm buying is made to make 60 wides and stuff like or it's the same type of tube when you start putting them all together. So why would I start? I could buy the same tube right now and use them because it's all the same parts.
But I'll tell you something.
But you got to buy different. What's up?
If I was to do it all over, I mean, I had 20 wide, 40 wide, 60 wide, 30 wide. I had everything.
Yeah.
10 foot. But if I was to do it all over again for like a small party rental company, I would stick to 20 by 20s, maybe some 30 by 30s. But the 20 by 20s, one or two guys could put up without any problem if they're frame tents. They're easy to put up, even though they're heavier and they take more time. 20 minutes or so, you could put one up.
Two guys can do a pole tent.
And I'll tell you the other thing. What I hated about my company was I had to keep buying new R pins. When you put a leg in, you got a leg and you have a connector to the base. There's a pin that goes through it. My guys would push them out. They'd leave them on the ground. So
like 15 cents each one.
And economy tents because they have one with a push button, kind of like a pop-up. I just love that crap. So if I was to do it again, I know economy got bought out by somebody, but I would get the push pins for the smaller sizes because then you don't have to lose the parts. Less parts to put on the truck. That's just me. You
can only do the ones I'm talking about are high peak frame tents. So if anything that's a 30 wide, I would be getting into those poles and the push poles or stuff like that. That's a correction too. And just a 20 by 20 or 20 by 30 or 20 by 40, I would just use what I have there. Just because it's sturdy. It's very sturdy stuff.
So if you wanted a real quick package, I wouldn't try to say how many chairs you want, lady. I would say here's a package. We get $500. It's a 20 by 20 tent, 4 8-foot round tables, 24 chairs, and 2 rectangular tables for your birthday cake and the presents. And that's our package, $440, and we come out and do it. Or you could say, we got a bounce coming, we'll do it for $350 or whatever makes sense in your area. That's how I would sell it. I wouldn't sell it. I mean, you could just sell a tent. That's fine. But then it's like, how many tables do we need? Just make packages, make your life easier. You can still sell the stuff individually, but better to sell it as a package. Makes it easier on your guys. Again, I'm not saying I wouldn't give advice both ways, but if I had to give one piece of advice to somebody starting off, that would be what I'd give them.
And Bam K, it's my buddy Justin. He's in Binghamton. He's cool. I'm trying to get him on the show here soon. James M. Any suggestions on places to buy modular art panels? I would buy old ones that are like Ninja Jumps. You can find that are still good if people are selling because they have the license. Because now Magic Jump isn't making them yet.
There's a few online that pop up. I have some stock, but there are a few that have them still around there. I bought some.
Dibs.
There's enough online.
First dibs.
Put that on. If you put that question on Bounce House Operators, you'll find there are a couple of guys that make them. They do a nice job, but stay away from licensed ones. It's not worth it. Just stay away from making a Mickey Mouse one or anything like that. It just really isn't worth the aggravation. If you make a Mr. Mouse and they look enough different, that's fine. But
So
don't,
there's
don't
Party Rental Knowledge Group is in the description as well. Go join that, and then Bounce House Operators, you can join right from that one. I'll post a link in there so you guys can join from that because Bounce House Operators is great. I basically did the buy and sell on my thing just because they're doing it too, and it helps out. It's just you know what I mean. There's as long as you're not selling junk in there, and as soon as you start selling junk in these sites, people start calling you out on it quick. There was a problem in there today because people were getting
if
in
you
on
list
it.
that
But
question on the Bounce House or on the other ones, there's a few, and I know they're on there too. But if I see the question, I'll look them up in my computer or somewhere. I'll find them for you. There's a couple of guys that could do them. You could even have them made locally, but
yeah, it depends. Like you don't want to do the license here. I'll hide that real quick. You don't want to do the license. You don't make a licensed one.
it's not worth the aggravation.
Yeah.
Forget Disney coming after you. Your competitors who don't like you because you're stealing their jobs will come after you, and they'll go after Disney, and then you get a lawsuit, and you settle. Sometimes your insurance covers it, but it's just not worth the aggravation.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Just be cool, guys. Do the right thing. Do the right thing and just show up. Remember, that's the slogan. Just show up. Living in Buffalo, do you use tent and table much for equipment? I got a few 20 by 20s from them last, wondering about buying some more stuff from them. I buy certain things from Tent and Table. I buy sandbags and stakes and stuff like that. I don't buy their bounce houses because they have a bounce house company and they use all their own stuff. So I don't want the same stuff they're using, which is all Tent and Table. I do own one of their water slides though, just because I needed one last minute. So I did buy one of them, and I have no problems with it whatsoever. As far as their tents go, I have not heard good things about their tents, so I'm not willing to try it yet. But you know what I mean. As far as pole tent, you can't really go wrong. So I'm thinking about maybe buying some pole tents from them. Because you know what I mean, you really can't go wrong with the vinyl. And like you said, you go cheaper with the vinyl, replace it after a while, it makes its money back faster, and it becomes newer faster because you're replacing it faster. So it depends because then my bigger tent, I'm talking about a 20 by 20 because that gets beat up a lot. That goes out a lot. Would I do that for a 40 by 100? No. So
You know,
if that's your question.
we manufacture inflatables, which a lot of people don't know. And I could tell you, I know Mark and Tent and Table, and I get their products here to repair. And overall, the products I see are very good, and the people are mostly happy. Have I ever heard somebody complain? Sure, as many as complain about everyone else. But you know, Mark's been around a long time, and he uses his equipment, so you know he knows what he's doing.
Yep.
I don't think you'll have a problem if that's who you like and who you prefer.
Yeah, as far like that's what I'm saying. I just wouldn't buy bigger tent equipment, but smaller tent equipment all day long. I'm thinking about buying it myself, even though they're close to me. I use their sidewalls. I'm looking around for other sidewalls because I don't like the clips. The clips keep breaking, but I want to get. I have their slide, and I used one of their other slides. I bought a used slide from them as well from another company, or not from another company, from a dude on Grand Island, out of his backyard. A mouse ate the bottom of it, and it was just the bottom. I patched the bottom. I put one little patch in it. It was ready to go. I bought it for $600. Used it for the season, and I sold it for $800. So, yep, that was cool. I got it with the blower too. Any more questions, everybody? No? Yes, no?
You want to talk about how to get into the tent business?
Into the tent business? Sure. You just asked me the question. I was going to end it, but we're going to go for it.
We can end it.
Now we're going for it.
Well, we could save it for that.
Get into the tent business.
A reason to come back.
Nah, to get into the tent business. Whoa. All right.
I don't hear you.